Emma Carter sighed as she glanced at the clock above the bar. Midnight. 2 more hours until her shift ended at the Oakwood, a high-end hotel lounge in downtown Chicago. Her feet ached in the black pumps that were part of her uniform, and all she wanted was to crawl into bed. But tips had been good tonight, and every dollar mattered when raising an 8-year-old daughter alone. "Emma, can you handle table 12? The gentleman seems—" Jerry, the head bartender, paused, searching for a diplomatic word. "Overserved." Emma looked over at table 12. A man in an expensive suit slumped in his chair, tie loosened, his glass empty beside a half-full bottle of Macallan 25. Even in his disheveled state, she recognized Alexander Reed, CEO of Reed Enterprises and one of Chicago's most powerful businessmen. His company owned this hotel, and technically her paycheck. "I've got it," she said, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. This wouldn't be the first drunk executive she'd handled, though usually they weren't billionaires who could fire her with a single phone call. As she approached, Alexander raised his head, his steel-blue eyes struggling to focus. "Another?" he mumbled, gesturing vaguely at his glass. "I think you've had enough for tonight, Mr. Reed," Emma said gently. "Can I call you a car instead?" He squinted at her name tag. "Emma. Do you know who I am?" "Yes, Mr. Reed. You're the man who'll thank me tomorrow for not letting him have another drink." A flash of surprise crossed his face, before it dissolved into a bitter laugh. "Bold. But I don't need your protection? Guidance? Common sense?" she offered with a small smile. For a moment, irritation flashed in his eyes, but then his expression softened. "All of the above, probably." He ran his hand through his dark hair. "Fine, no more drinks." Emma nodded, relieved. "I'll arrange for your driver." "Sent him home hours ago," Alexander muttered. "I'll get a rideshare." As Emma helped him stand, she noticed his phone on the table. The screen was shattered, the device dead. "Your phone's broken. You can use mine to call someone, or I can get you a hotel room for the night." "Room," he said, his voice suddenly weary. "Please." Emma nodded and led him toward the lobby, her arm supporting his waist. The night manager's eyes widened upon seeing who Emma was helping, but quickly arranged a suite. "I need his credit card," the manager whispered. "Put it on my employee account," Emma said quietly. "I'll handle it." The manager looked skeptical, but nodded. At the elevator, Alexander stumbled. Emma caught him, preventing what would have been a hard fall. "Easy there," she murmured. "Why are you helping me?" he asked, suddenly lucid. "You don't even know me." "Because you need it," she answered simply, "and because I'd hoped someone would do the same for me." In the elevator, Alexander leaned against the wall, studying her. "You have kind eyes," he said unexpectedly. Emma smiled but said nothing. She'd learned long ago not to take drunken compliments seriously. At the suite door, Emma used the keycard and helped Alexander inside. "The bed's that way," she said, pointing. "There's water in the minibar. Drink it all before you sleep." Alexander nodded, then abruptly sat on the sofa. "I lost everything today," he said, his voice hollow. Emma hesitated. She should leave, get back to her shift. But something in his expression stopped her. "What happened?" she asked softly. "Board meeting. Hostile takeover. My father's company." His words slurred together. 25 years building it, gone in one afternoon. Emma sat beside him, keeping a respectful distance. "I'm sorry. That sounds devastating." "My father would be so disappointed." Alexander's voice cracked. "I promised him on his deathbed I'd protect his legacy." "Is it completely final?" Emma asked. "Unless I can raise $200 million in 48 hours. He laughed bitterly. "Impossible." "Nothing's impossible," Emma said, then immediately felt foolish. What did she know about millions of dollars and corporate takeovers? Her biggest financial achievement was putting aside enough for her daughter Lily's college fund. Alexander looked at her with surprising clarity. "You believe that?" "I have to," Emma replied honestly. "I'm a single mum working 3 jobs to make ends meet. If I didn't believe things could get better, I'd never get out of bed." Something shifted in his expression. 3 jobs? Bartending here nights, administrative assistant at a law firm days, and weekend shifts at my friend's bakery. Emma shrugged. It's just temporary until I finish my business degree. Alexander was silent for a long moment. You're remarkable, he said finally, without a trace of flirtation, just simple, drunken honesty. Emma stood. You need to sleep. Things might look better in the morning. As she turned to leave, Alexander caught her hand. Thank you, Emma. Not just for the room, for... He gestured vaguely. Seeing me as a person, not just a bank account. Good night, Mr. Reed, Emma said gently, slipping her hand from his. Try to get some rest. Back at the bar, Jerry raised an eyebrow. Everything okay? Fine, Emma said, picking up a tray of clean glasses. He's sleeping it off upstairs. On his tab. Emma hesitated. On mine, actually. Jerry stared at her. Are you crazy? That suite costs more than you make in a week. I know, but his card wasn't working and he's going through something tough. It seemed like the right thing to do. Jerry shook his head. Emma Carter, with a heart too big for her own good. Always saving strays. After her shift ended at 2 a.m., Emma collected her tips and jacket. As she walked through the quiet hotel lobby toward the employee exit, her phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Jenkins, her elderly neighbor, who watched Lily at night. Lily had a nightmare. She's okay now, but asking for you. Don't rush, she's back asleep. Emma's heart ached. These late-night shifts meant missing too much of her daughter's life, but the night differential pay was essential. As she pushed through the door into the chilly Chicago night, a commotion near the hotel entrance caught her attention. Two men were roughly escorting, almost dragging, a third man toward a black SUV with tinted windows. With a jolt, Emma recognized Alexander Reed's disheveled form between them. Let me go, Alexander was saying, his voice clearer than it had been earlier. This is ridiculous. Orders from the board, Mr. Reed, one man said coldly. You're to be kept away until the paperwork is finalized. Emma froze, uncertainty gripping her. This didn't look right. The men weren't hotel security. She knew all of them. And the forceful way they handled Alexander seemed wrong. Before she could second-guess herself, Emma pulled out her phone and began recording. Excuse me, she called out, her voice stronger than she felt. Mr. Reed, is everything okay? All three men turned. Alexander's eyes widened when he saw her. Emma? Mind your business, lady, the taller man snapped. I'm hotel staff, and that's Alexander Reed, owner of this establishment, Emma said, continuing to record. If you don't identify yourselves immediately, I'm calling security and the police. The men exchanged glances. This isn't over, the shorter one muttered to Alexander before they both released him and quickly walked to their vehicle. As the SUV peeled away, Alexander stood unsteadily on the sidewalk, watching Emma with an expression of disbelief and something else, admiration. You just saved me twice in one night, he said, his voice rough. I think that makes you my guardian angel. Before Emma could respond, he swayed dangerously. She rushed forward just as his knees buckled, catching him before he hit the ground. What had she gotten herself into? And more importantly, who were those men and what did they want with Alexander Reed? Emma struggled under Alexander's weight as she guided him back toward the hotel entrance. Her 5'5" frame was hardly built for supporting a 6-foot man, but determination made up for what she lacked in height. Mr. Reed, I need you to try walking, she urged, her arm straining around his waist. Alexander, he mumbled, making a visible effort to straighten. Call me Alexander. The night security guard rushed out to help when he saw them approaching. Miss Carter, what happened? Some men were trying to force Mr. Reed into a car, Emma explained, relief washing over her as the guard took Alexander's weight. I don't think they were supposed to be here. Back in the lobby, the night manager looked horrified. Should I call the police? Emma glanced at Alexander, who was now more alert, his jaw set in a tight line. No police, he said firmly. But those men, Emma started, were sent by Victor Hargrove, my former CFO and apparently new board chairman, Alexander interrupted, his voice bitter. He's making his move faster than I anticipated. The night manager helped them to a private sitting area off the lobby. Once Alexander was seated, Emma handed him a glass of water from a nearby carafe. He accepted it with a grateful nod. I should go, Emma said, suddenly aware of the intimacy of the situation. My daughter. Please stay, Alexander said, then seemed surprised by his own request. Just for a moment. I owe you an explanation at the very least. Emma hesitated, then sat across from him. I can give you 5 minutes. For the first time, a hint of a genuine smile crossed Alexander's face. Direct. I like that. He took a deep breath. Victor Hargrove has been orchestrating this takeover for months. I suspected something, but I didn't realize how far it had progressed until today's board meeting. What did they vote on exactly? To accept a merger offer that effectively dissolves Reed Enterprises as an independent company, Alexander explained, his eyes darkening. My father built this company from nothing. 40 years of work, and in one afternoon, it's being carved up and sold off to the highest bidders. Emma could hear the pain beneath his anger. And those men tonight, probably hired to keep me occupied until the final contracts are signed. He laughed humorlessly. Victor knows I'll fight this with everything I have. Can you? Fight it, I mean? Alexander's expression shifted to something more calculated. There's a clause in the company charter. If I can secure enough capital within 72 hours of the vote, I can buy back controlling interest. His shoulders slumped slightly. But it would take resources I don't have immediate access to. Most of my personal wealth is tied up in company stock, which is now frozen. Emma was out of her depth in this world of corporate warfare, but she recognized desperation when she saw it. There must be someone who can help. Investors, friends, at $200 million, not on such short notice. He finished his water. Victor chose his timing perfectly. He knew I'd just committed most of my liquid assets to a development project in Detroit. The conversation lapsed into silence. Emma glanced at her watch, 3:15 a.m. Lily would be up in a few hours for school. I've kept you too long, Alexander said, noticing her gesture. I apologize. It's okay, Emma said, standing. I hope things work out somehow. Alexander stood as well, and Emma was struck by how different he appeared from the drunken man at the bar. Despite the rumpled suit and stubbled jaw, an aura of authority had returned to his bearing. Your kindness tonight won't be forgotten, Emma Carter, he said, extending his hand. Thank you. As she shook his hand, Emma was acutely aware of the contrast between them, his manicured nails against her practical short ones, his designer watch beside her drugstore timepiece. Different worlds. Good night, Mr. Reed. Alexander, she corrected herself. Take care. How will you get home? He asked suddenly. It's late. The train, Emma replied. I do it every night. Alexander frowned. Let me call you a car service. Emma shook her head. That's not necessary. Please, he insisted. It would make me feel better about taking up so much of your time. After a moment's hesitation, Emma nodded. Thank you. That would be helpful. 10 minutes later, Emma slid into the back seat of a luxury car, giving the driver her address in a modest neighborhood on Chicago's west side. As the car pulled away from the gleaming hotel, she couldn't help feeling she'd just experienced something significant, though what exactly she couldn't say. The following morning arrived too quickly. Emma woke to Lily bouncing on her bed, already dressed in her school uniform. Mom, you're going to be late, Lily announced, her blonde ponytail swinging as she jumped. Emma groaned and checked the time. 7:30 a.m. She'd overslept. Lily, did you get yourself ready? Uh-huh, the 8-year-old said proudly. I even made cereal, but we're out of milk, so I used orange juice. Emma suppressed a grimace. That's creative, sweetie. 20 minutes later, they rushed out the door of their small 2-bedroom apartment. Emma dropped Lily at the charter school 2 blocks away before heading to the law firm where she worked as an administrative assistant. You're late, Emma, observed Margaret, the office manager, as Emma hurried to her desk. I'm sorry. It won't happen again, Emma promised, setting down her coffee and switching on her computer. It better not. Mr. Dawson needs the Henley brief proofread by noon. Emma nodded and immersed herself in work, pushing thoughts of last night's strange encounter from her mind. By lunchtime, she had almost convinced herself it had been a bizarre dream until her phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Emma Carter speaking, she answered professionally. Emma, it's Alexander Reed. Her fingers froze over her keyboard. Mr. Reed, how did you get my number? From the hotel employee records, he admitted. I hope you don't mind. Emma frowned. That seemed like a violation of privacy, regardless of who owned the hotel. What can I do for you? Have lunch with me today, he said, his tone somewhere between a request and a command. I'd like to thank you properly for your help last night. I appreciate the offer, but I can't. I only get 30 minutes for lunch, and I usually use it to catch up on coursework. You're a student? Part-time? Business administration, Emma explained, wondering why she was sharing this information. Admirable, Alexander said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. What about after work? Dinner? Emma hesitated. I have to pick up my daughter and help with homework. Breakfast tomorrow, then, before your first job. Please, Emma, it's important. Something in his voice, an earnestness she hadn't expected, made her pause. Why is this so important to you? Because you saw me at my worst, and still treated me with dignity, Alexander replied without hesitation. And because I think you might be the answer to my problem. Emma's eyebrows shot up. How could I possibly help with your corporate takeover issues? Meet me for breakfast and I'll explain. The Bluethorn Cafe, 7 a.m. tomorrow. It's near your daughter's school. Emma's suspicions spiked. How do you know where my daughter goes to school? There was a pause. I had my assistant do some background research, he admitted. For security purposes. I needed to know who I was dealing with. That's invasive and inappropriate, Emma said coldly. You're right, Alexander said after a moment. I apologize. Old habits from the corporate world. Please understand, after what happened last night, I had to make sure you weren't somehow involved with Hargrove. Emma's irritation didn't fully subside, but she understood the logic, however flawed. Fine, breakfast at 7. But this better be worth missing my study time. I promise it will be, Alexander said, relief evident in his voice. Thank you, Emma. As she hung up, Emma wondered what she was getting herself into. Alexander Reed lived in a world of corporate espionage and million-dollar deals, a world far removed from her daily struggle to balance work, school, and single parenthood. That evening, after putting Lily to bed, Emma researched Alexander Reed online. News articles highlighted his reputation as a brilliant but ruthless businessman who had tripled Reed Enterprises' value since taking over from his father 10 years ago. His personal life seemed carefully guarded, though gossip columns occasionally linked him to models and socialites, nothing serious or lasting. What could someone like him possibly want from someone like her? As Emma finally drifted off to sleep, her mind filled with questions about the enigmatic billionaire and the mysterious breakfast invitation that awaited her in the morning. Emma arrived at the Bluethorn Cafe at 6:55 a.m., her hair still damp from her rushed shower. The small upscale eatery was just opening, with only one other table occupied by early risers in business attire. She wore her law firm outfit, a simple navy skirt suit that had seen better days, but was the most professional thing she owned. Alexander Reed was already seated at a corner table, immersed in something on his tablet. Unlike the disheveled man from 2 nights ago, this version was impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His dark hair was neatly combed, and the stubble was gone, revealing a strong jawline. He looked up as she approached, and a genuine smile crossed his face. Emma, thank you for coming. He stood politely as she reached the table. I'm curious what could be so important, Emma said, taking the seat across from him. A steaming cup of coffee already waited for her. I ordered you coffee. The waitress said you come here sometimes, so she knew your preference. Black with 1 sugar. Alexander gestured to the menu. Please, order whatever you'd like. Emma raised an eyebrow. You've been talking to the waitstaff about me? I arrived early, Alexander admitted without apology. I like knowing who I'm dealing with. And what have you learned about me, Mr. Reed? Emma asked, picking up the menu, though she already knew she'd order the cheapest option, toast and fruit. Alexander, he corrected, I've learned you're raising a daughter alone, working multiple jobs while pursuing a degree, that you're respected by your co-workers at the hotel and this cafe, where you apparently study most mornings before your shift at the law firm. His blue eyes held hers, and that you paid for my hotel suite the other night, out of your own pocket. Emma felt her cheeks warm. How did you... I checked the records yesterday. Why would you do that? It cost you nearly a week's wages. She shrugged, uncomfortable with his direct questioning. You needed help. I provided it. Most people wouldn't have. Then I guess I'm not most people. Emma set down the menu. Why am I here, Alexander? Before he could answer, the waitress arrived. Emma ordered her toast and fruit. Alexander asked for a full breakfast, then waited for the waitress to leave before leaning forward. I want to offer you a job, he said without preamble. Emma blinked. What kind of job? Personal executive assistant. Temporary position, 90 days. Salary of $20,000 per month. plus a $50,000 completion bonus. Emma's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. That's impossible. Why would you offer me that kind of money? And why only 90 days? Because I need someone I can trust implicitly for the next 3 months while I fight this takeover. Someone who has proven their character and discretion. Someone not connected to my current circle, which is clearly compromised. His expression was dead serious. And 90 days is how long I estimate it will take to either save my company or lose it completely. Emma set down her cup, trying to process the numbers. More money in 3 months than she'd make in 3 years. It seemed absurd. This feels like a setup or a joke. It's neither, Alexander assured her. The job would be demanding. Long hours, high pressure, total confidentiality. You'd be my right hand during the most critical period of my career. But I have no experience as an executive assistant, Emma protested. And what about my daughter, my other jobs, my classes? We can work around your class schedule. As for your daughter, I'd provide childcare, the best in the city. Your other jobs? He shrugged. You wouldn't need them anymore. Emma's mind raced. It sounded too good to be true, which usually meant it was. What would I actually be doing in this role? Coordinating my schedule, handling communications, attending meetings with me, managing sensitive documents, essentially being the one person I can rely on completely. Alexander leaned back as the waitress delivered their food. When she left, he continued, I need someone Victor Hargrove doesn't know and can't manipulate. Someone with integrity. Someone desperate enough for money to agree to anything? Emma suggested pointedly. Alexander's expression darkened. Is that what you think this is? Exploitation? I don't know what this is, Emma admitted. But in my experience, when something sounds too good to be true, it usually comes with strings attached. Fair enough. Alexander cut into his eggs. Let me be clear about my intentions. I need an ally I can trust. Your actions the other night showed me your character. The salary reflects both the importance of the position and the disruption to your life. Emma picked at her fruit, her appetite diminished by the surreal conversation. And if I say no, then you say no. No hard feelings. I'll find someone else. Alexander's tone was casual, but something flickered in his eyes. Disappointment, perhaps. They ate in silence for a moment before Emma spoke again. I'd need more details. Written contract, specific hours, guaranteed time for my daughter. A slow smile spread across Alexander's face. Does that mean you're considering it? I'm a single mother who works 3 jobs to make ends meet. Of course I'm considering it, Emma said pragmatically, but I won't be rushed into a decision. Understandable. I can have the contract sent to you today. Alexander pulled out his phone and made a quick note. When can I expect your answer? After I've reviewed everything thoroughly, probably tomorrow. Alexander nodded, clearly used to faster responses but accepting her terms. There's one more thing you should know. His expression turned serious again. Taking this position could potentially put you in Hargrove's crosshairs. The man is ruthless. Are you trying to scare me out of accepting? I'm being transparent about the risks. Your safety would be a priority, of course. I'd provide security if needed. Emma's unease grew. This sounds more like entering a war zone than taking an assistant job. Corporate takeovers at this level are warfare, Emma. Bloodless, perhaps, but with real casualties. Alexander's gaze was intense. My father's legacy, thousands of jobs, hundreds of millions in charitable foundations, all hang in the balance. The weight of his words settled between them. Emma checked her watch. She needed to leave soon to drop Lily at school. I should go. Alexander nodded and signaled for the check. One last thing. If you accept, you'd need to start immediately. Today, ideally. Today? Emma shook her head. That's impossible. I'd need to give notice at my jobs, arrange things for Lily. I can have a team handle all of that. Proper notices given, arrangements made. He leaned forward. Emma, I wouldn't ask if it weren't urgent. Hargrove is moving quickly. The waitress brought the check, which Alexander paid immediately, leaving a generous tip. As they stood to leave, he handed Emma a business card. My private number. Call me any time with questions. He hesitated, then added, I know this is sudden and overwhelming, but sometimes opportunities arrive at unexpected moments. Emma tucked the card into her purse. I'll think about it. Outside the cafe, Alexander's driver waited with a sleek black car. "Can we give you a ride to your daughter's school?" Alexander offered. "No, thank you. We'll walk. It's our morning routine." Alexander nodded. "I respect family traditions." He extended his hand. "I look forward to your call, Emma Carter." As they shook hands, Emma was struck again by the contrast between them, yet also by an unexpected sense of connection. This powerful man was offering her a lifeline, albeit one that came with considerable complications. "Goodbye, Alexander," she said, turning toward home to pick up Lily. Emma spent her lunch break at the law firm reviewing the contract that had been messengered over that morning. The terms were even more generous than Alexander had outlined, including comprehensive health benefits, a housing allowance, and a college fund contribution for Lily. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Contract arrive okay? AR." Emma texted back, "Yes, reviewing now." The reply came immediately. "Dinner tonight to discuss? Your place? I'll bring food." Emma stared at her phone. The presumption was staggering. "That's not necessary," she wrote back. "Please, important developments. Need to discuss in person." She hesitated, then replied, "Fine, 7 p.m. Text when you arrive and I'll send the address." The reply was a simple thumbs-up emoji, which seemed oddly casual coming from a billionaire CEO. That evening, after helping Lily with her homework, Emma found herself tidying their small apartment with unusual nervousness. She'd changed from her work clothes into jeans and a simple blouse, casual but presentable. "Is someone coming over, Mum?" Lily asked, watching Emma fluff the couch pillows for the third time. "Yes, a potential employer," Emma answered carefully. "For which job? The bar, or the lawyer place, or the bakery?" "None of those. A new opportunity." Emma sat beside her daughter. "How would you feel if I only had one job instead of 3? If I could be home more often?" Lily's blue eyes widened. "For real? No more Mrs. Jenkins at night?" "Possibly. It would be a big change, but maybe a good one." At precisely 7 p.m., Emma's phone buzzed. She texted the address, and minutes later there was a knock at the door. Alexander Reed stood in her hallway, looking somewhat out of place in his expensive suit. He carried several bags of what smelled like Italian food. "Thank you for seeing me," he said, his expression serious. "We need to talk. Victor Hargrove knows about you." Emma felt a chill. "What do you mean, knows about me?" "Someone at the hotel told him about what happened the other night. He's been asking questions." Alexander stepped inside as Emma moved aside, "And he's accelerated his timeline. The final paperwork is being prepared for tomorrow." As Emma closed the door behind him, she had no idea that by morning both their lives would be irrevocably changed by a revelation that would turn everything they thought they knew upside down. "Mum, who's that?" Lily appeared in the hallway, curious eyes fixed on Alexander. "This is Mr. Reed," Emma explained, taking the food bags from Alexander. "He's here to talk about a job opportunity." Alexander crouched down to Lily's level, his demeanor softening. "You must be Lily. Your mum has told me about you. It's nice to meet you." Lily studied him with the frank assessment only children can get away with. "Your suit looks expensive. Are you rich?" "Lily," Emma admonished. Alexander laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face. "Yes, I am. But that's not the most important thing about a person, is it?" Lily considered this. "No. Mum says it's what's in your heart that counts." "Your mum is very wise," Alexander said, standing. "Those are good values to learn." Emma set the food on their small dining table. "Lily, why don't you take your dinner to your room and watch that science documentary you've been wanting to see? Mr. Reed and I need to talk business." Once Lily had settled in her bedroom with her food and iPad, Emma turned to Alexander. "What exactly did you mean about Hargrove knowing about me?" Alexander's expression darkened as he helped Emma unpack containers of pasta and salad. "One of the bartenders at the hotel, Jerry, apparently told Hargrove's people about how you helped me the other night. Hargrove has been digging into your background." "Why would Jerry do that?" "Money, probably. My sources tell me Hargrove has been paying hotel staff for information for months." Alexander shook his head. "I should have seen it sooner." Emma felt a chill. "What does this mean for me?" "It means your decision about my job offer just became more urgent." Alexander served pasta onto 2 plates. "Hargrove operates by finding leverage on people. He'll look for ways to pressure you because he sees you as connected to me now." Emma sat down heavily. "This is insane. I barely know you. I know, Alexander said, his voice gentler, and I'm sorry you've been pulled into this, but here we are. He sat across from her. Have you reviewed the contract? Yes. It's very generous. Emma pushed her pasta around with her fork. Almost suspiciously so. Alexander smiled slightly. I pay for excellence and loyalty. Both are rare commodities in my world. His expression became serious again. But there's another development. Something I discovered this afternoon that changes everything. Emma looked up, alarmed by his tone. What is it? I had my security team review the hotel surveillance footage from the night you helped me. They discovered something unexpected. Alexander pulled out his phone and opened a video file. Watch this. Emma leaned forward as Alexander played grainy security footage from the hotel bar. It showed Jerry, the head bartender, slipping something into Alexander's drink while his back was turned. He drugged me, Alexander said, his voice tight with controlled anger. That's why I was so incapacitated. It wasn't just alcohol. That's horrifying, Emma whispered. But why would Jerry do that? Keep watching. The video continued, showing Jerry on his phone shortly after. Alexander paused the footage. Our lip-reading expert says he's telling someone it's done. Reed will be incoherent within 30 minutes. Emma felt her stomach drop. Those men who tried to take you were waiting for me to be completely helpless, Alexander finished. The plan was likely to get me somewhere private, force me to sign documents or worse. His eyes held Emma's. If you hadn't intervened when you did. The implication hung between them. Emma pushed her plate away, appetite gone. Have you gone to the police? Not yet. I needed more evidence first. Alexander took a deep breath. But there's more, Emma. Something I discovered just hours ago that changes everything. Alexander pulled out a folder and laid several documents on the table. These are old company records my father kept in a personal safe. Records I didn't know existed until my mother mentioned them yesterday. Emma skimmed the papers. Ownership documents, birth certificates, and what appeared to be a private investigator's report dated 29 years ago. I don't understand, she said, looking up at Alexander. What am I looking at? Evidence that Victor Hargrove is my half-brother. Emma's jaw dropped. What? My father had an affair decades ago. Victor was the result. My father paid the mother to keep quiet, but set up a trust fund for Victor and kept tabs on him. He even hired him at the company eventually, though neither Victor nor I knew of our connection. Alexander ran a hand through his hair. It explains Victor's obsessive determination to take over Reed Enterprises. It's not just business for him, it's personal. Does Hargrove know about this? I don't think so. Not the full story, at least. He may suspect something, which could be driving his actions. Alexander leaned forward. This changes my approach entirely. If Victor is family, regardless of the circumstances, I need to handle this differently. Emma tried to process this bombshell revelation. So what's your plan now? I want to meet with him privately, show him these documents, offer him a legitimate place in the company, as family, not an enemy. Alexander's expression was determined, but I need someone I trust to help arrange this meeting secretly, someone not on Hargrove's radar. Until today, apparently, Emma pointed out. Yes, which means we need to move quickly. Alexander looked at her intently. Will you help me, Emma? Not just as my assistant, but as my partner in this. The weight of his request hung between them. Emma stood and walked to her daughter's bedroom door, peering in to see Lily happily engrossed in her documentary. This decision wouldn't just affect Emma, it would change Lily's life too. If I agree, she said slowly, turning back to Alexander, I need guarantees of safety for both of us. Absolute top priority, Alexander promised. I've already arranged for security. Emma raised an eyebrow. Before I even accepted the job, Alexander had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. I was hopeful and concerned for your safety regardless of your decision. Emma returned to the table and sat down, coming to a decision. I'll help you, but we do this my way. Your way? Yes. You billionaires always overcomplicate things with your power plays and corporate strategies. Emma leaned forward. Sometimes the direct approach is best. We call Hargrove, tell him you want to meet to offer a compromise, and get him somewhere public but private. And then what? You tell him the truth, show him the documents, offer him legitimate recognition and a place at the company. Emma held Alexander's gaze. If he's been fighting for what he feels is his birthright, giving him a path to that might be the one thing that stops this war. Alexander considered her words. It could work. Or it could make him even more determined to take everything. It's a risk, Emma acknowledged, but continuing this corporate battle puts thousands of jobs at stake, including mine. Sometimes the truth is the only way forward. Alexander smiled slowly. This is why I need you, Emma Carter. You cut through the noise to the heart of things. Is that a yes to my approach? It's a yes. Alexander extended his hand across the table. Partners? Emma took his hand. Partners. The following day unfolded with dizzying speed. Emma took a personal day from the law firm and arranged for Lily to stay with a trusted friend. By noon, she was installed in Alexander's private office at his penthouse, helping coordinate the critical meeting with Victor Hargrove. He's agreed to meet, Emma reported, hanging up the phone. 4 o'clock at the Sanctuary. The Sanctuary was an exclusive private dining club where Chicago's elite conducted their most sensitive business. Its strict no-recording policy and private rooms made it ideal for their purpose. Good work, Alexander said, looking up from the documents he was reviewing. Did he sound suspicious? Cautious but curious. I think he's intrigued by your sudden desire to negotiate. Emma sat across from him. Are you ready for this? Alexander closed the folder containing the proof of his and Victor's relationship. As ready as I'll ever be to tell a man who's trying to destroy me that we're brothers. At 3:30 they left for the Sanctuary. Emma had transformed herself into the perfect executive assistant, dressed in a sleek outfit Alexander had sent over that morning, her hair pulled back in a professional chignon. She looked the part now, though she still felt like an imposter in this world of wealth and power. Victor Hargrove was already waiting when they arrived, a tall, lean man with piercing eyes that Emma now noticed bore a striking resemblance to Alexander's. He raised an eyebrow at Emma's presence. I didn't realize this was a group meeting, Alexander, Victor said coolly. Ms. Carter is my executive assistant and has my complete confidence, Alexander replied. She stays. Victor shrugged and gestured to the table. Let's get to it then. What compromise could you possibly offer that would interest me now that I hold all the cards? Instead of answering immediately, Alexander placed the folder on the table. Before we begin, there's something you need to see. Victor eyed the folder suspiciously but opened it. Emma watched his expression change from skepticism to shock as he read the documents. What is this? He demanded, his voice hoarse. The truth, Alexander said quietly. We share a father, Victor. You're a Reed. The next hour was tense, emotional, and at times explosive as Victor absorbed the revelation. He had grown up believing his father abandoned him, never knowing that William Reed had kept tabs on him his entire life, even orchestrating his hiring at Reed Enterprises. He brought you into the company because he wanted you close, Alexander explained. According to my mother, he was planning to tell us both the truth before he died. His heart attack changed everything. Victor's anger was palpable, but beneath it, Emma sensed something else, a lifetime of pain finally finding its source and perhaps its resolution. So what now? Victor asked eventually. You think this changes anything? That I'll just walk away from the takeover because we're family? No, Alexander replied. I'm proposing we run Reed Enterprises together as equal partners, brothers. Victor stared at him in disbelief. Equal partners? Yes. With a legal agreement that protects both our interests. Alexander leaned forward. This company is our father's legacy. To both of us, we can fight and destroy it, or we can build it into something even greater. Together. The silence that followed was electric. Emma held her breath, watching the emotions play across Victor's face. Suspicion, confusion, and finally, a hesitant consideration. I'll need time to verify all of this, Victor said at last. Of course, Alexander agreed. Take whatever time you need. In the meantime, I suggest we pause all takeover activities. After further negotiation, Victor agreed to a 2-week standstill while he verified the documents and considered Alexander's offer. As they parted, the two men shook hands, tentatively, but it was a start. Back in the car, Emma finally released the breath she'd been holding. Do you think it worked? Alexander looked out the window, his expression thoughtful. I think we've opened a door. What happens next depends on whether Victor chooses to walk through it. 6 months later, Emma stood in her new office at Reed Enterprises, reviewing the quarterly philanthropy reports. Her promotion to Director of Community Outreach had come after her successful 3-month stint as Alexander's executive assistant. The position utilized her business education and her natural talent for connecting with people, while still allowing her flexible hours for Lily and her final classes. A knock at her door made her look up. Alexander stood there looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him in the early days. "Ready for the board meeting?" he asked. "Just about," Emma replied, gathering her materials. The Reed Enterprises boardroom was now a very different place. Victor Hargrove sat as co-CEO alongside Alexander, their initial wary partnership having evolved into a genuine respect. The company hadn't just survived, it was thriving under their complementary leadership styles. As the meeting concluded, Alexander asked Emma to stay behind. When the room had cleared, he closed the door. "I have something to ask you," he said, suddenly appearing uncharacteristically nervous. "Is everything okay?" Emma asked. "Better than okay." Alexander moved closer. "These past months working with you have been the most rewarding of my career. But more than that, they've changed me personally." Emma felt her heart quicken. Their professional relationship had gradually evolved into a friendship, and recently she'd sensed something more developing between them. "Emma Carter," Alexander said, taking her hand, "would you do me the honor of having dinner with me tonight? Not as colleagues or friends, but as a proper date." Emma smiled, a warmth spreading through her chest. "I thought you'd never ask." That evening, as they dined overlooking the Chicago skyline, Emma reflected on how one night, one simple act of kindness toward a troubled stranger, had completely transformed her life. From struggling single mother to respected executive, from loneliness to the beginning of something that felt remarkably like love. "What are you thinking about?" Alexander asked, reaching across the table for her hand. "About how sometimes saving someone else ends up saving yourself too," Emma replied, squeezing his fingers, "and how the most unexpected turns can lead exactly where you're meant to be." Alexander raised his glass. "To new beginnings."